What's up, Springfield Nation? Steve Leslie, YSNLive.com, your home of Tiger football all season long, and very proud of it as this football team heads to the regional final Saturday night at home against Creston Norwayne. Coach's Corner Playoff Edition, sponsored by WRS Insurance Solutions, proud sponsor of Springfield football season. We cannot thank them enough. Joined by the head ball coach, Coach Guerriero. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Oh, not a problem. Just be glad to be back for another week.
I was just going to say, isn't it nice to have another week? The weather has cooperated. Weather looks good for this weekend. I guess let's go to that. How's practice been this week for this football team?
I think practice has been good for our kids. We always try to start off a little bit slower during the beginning of the week, just to make sure our kids know our adjustments and to make sure we're adjusting everything, or make sure we know, offensively, if we got new plays or new types of, gimmicks or different things that we end up doing. And I thought our kids, the practice day, we're I don't know if it's shut off or not, but
not good.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right. So I thought our kids handled practice today well. It was good.
Yeah, a good week of practice is huge. Coming off a big win, Coach, over Mogadore State Power, shutout. That has to be huge for that defense. The running backs, Medvec and Nesbitt. Medvec kicked the ball again really well. Team touchbacks, those are huge. Nesbitt and Tyndall, the two running backs, had good games. Talk about that game a little bit.
I think overall it was a great and another great team effort for us. When you think about, offensively, I thought we kind of killed ourselves a little bit with some penalties. We had some plays called back. We had a touchdown called back, so I think that kind of hurt us. So we kind of made sure that we went back to it, talked about our hands being inside and making sure, just scheme wise, we were, we were back to even running it, at 100% speed wise. Defensively, lights out. I thought by a couple of adjustments that we ended up making throughout the game, or kind of mixing up the calls for Mogadore, was key. Our kids executed well. Our front seven played extremely well with our D linemen eating up double teams, and our linebackers and actually our secondary being able to come and make some huge tackles for us. Defensively, and I thought our kids executed our game plan unbelievably well. Special teams are always big for us. Clay does a great job, like you said, on kickoffs, and right now we keep talking to our kids. If we can play field position and have somebody drive 80 yards on our defense and how they're playing right now, I think that's a tall task. So I think right now we're starting to get, we've had a kid who's been injured, but he's starting to get back into the thing with Nick Slike. He'll give us some more depth in our secondary. Add more depth in almost every phase of special teams. And he's coming back where he had some huge catches for us in the beginning of the year. So with him getting healthy, we're getting healthy at the right time. We're playing fast at the right time. And I feel good, about our team right now.
Yeah, there's no question. This is a good football team. I wanted to ask you, we're with Coach Guerriero, Coach's Corner for the Springfield Tigers. We'll have the game for you on YSN Live Saturday night. Coach doing a little primetime again event. We're going to be at all three stadiums where we have teams playing. So we're going to do a little college game day at all three. So we look forward to that. But you brought something up. You said you left some plays on the field and did some things. Was that good for this football team to see on film and get those things corrected when maybe the last few weeks you didn't get a chance to see some of those things on film?
Well, we always feel like our kids will play at a high level, but
right.
And we've talked about the past couple of weeks about facing some adversity. I think we had to face some adversity in that first half, and our kids stuck with it, and our kids continue to play well. So I think it was a bonus on top of that, because you talk about, well, how do you try to put that and you really can't end up implementing it in practice. But I think our kids, really didn't phase them. I think our kids kept playing, and there was some, you go from maybe being a 3rd and 1 to a 3rd and 12 or something, and it kind of hit us, I mean, at some times, but our kids didn't blink an eye. And obviously, with the game, they played 4 quarters, and I was just excited when you can beat a team like Mogadore. I mean, a team that has that tradition, that plays hard, and like I talked before, that a little nastiness to them. So I was very happy how our kids handled that. And we're trying to move on. We kind of celebrated a little bit on that victory, and now we're back, hopefully for this one in Norwayne, which is a great challenge. But again, I always end up saying something we talked about this week. Last week at our place, the crowd was into it. It was, you could hear when a big play ended up happening, or when there was a 3rd and long, you could just hear our crowd, making noise and getting loud and doing all the little things. It kind of reminded me of last year a little bit. So I'm so proud to be a part of this community and to be able to have another home game, because you felt their presence at the game.
I was just going to ask you that. That is awesome. That has for the whole community, because let's be honest, there's only so many people that can get in, but the place every week for your home game sounds like it's packed. That's a great feeling and a great momentum. And I talked with Clayton before you, and he brought up some great things. Not too many football teams, Coach. This is a new playoff system. Get to play their 3rd playoff game at home. How special is that?
Well, it is. And we kind of talked about it actually today in practice, just with our staff. We said, what I mean? I didn't even think we were going to have a season going into it. Now we talked about, well, okay, we're going to have 6 games and 3 home, 3 away. Now we were able to double our home games again, and just have the opportunity of our kids playing again at home. And again, I've talked about the rock and coming out of our locker room and wearing our black jersey. Those things are, important. That we feel like we've earned that right to be number 1 and end up playing. So I'm so happy for our kids. And we've kind of, we talked again, somebody I know, there was some other schools that called saying they would host our game. But how do you turn down an opportunity?
No, you don't. No.
Hey, how do you turn down an opportunity to host the regional finals, which never, ever may ever happen? So we're embracing this, and having Norwayne come to our place and come to, again, like you call it, Tiger Nation. And I know our kids are going to be ready. I know, for the 300 fans of Springfield that are on the beat, they will be loud and proud, and hopefully it'll be another great victory for us, but it'll be a great experience for our kids.
Well, it's going to be a great victory. I'm going to say that, but I'm all with you. No to that. And I heard a lot of that this week. You play a regular season for these times to be the number 1 seed to get home games. That should never be given up. And I respect your whole school system for maintaining that game to stay at home. Yeah, it's easier to go to the neutral site and play on turf. No, this football team deserves to play Springfield Nation at home. How many fans to get in the same environment, because this football team deserves that. Is that okay for me to say? Because I hope so, because that's what I believe.
Listen, that's how we approach it. And again, Norwayne, just like Mogadore, has not played a lot of games. I think they played 1 game on grass. So I think our field and our maintenance crew does a great job. I'm going to give that to our guys. They do a great job with our field, and it's held up over the time. So, I'm like I said, I'm happy for our kids. I'm happy seniors, because you think about it, even from their spring season last year to that, and to be able to get these 3 home games again and play at home. It's a blessing.
Yeah. Is there a better feeling than getting a win in a regional final, knowing you're going to move on to the state semifinals, and that's the last playoff game, the last game you play at your stadium? That there's not too many football teams that get that opportunity. So it's going to be another great night in Springfield Tiger Nation. I know that. But we're with Coach Guerriero, Coach's Corner, sponsored by WRS Insurance Solutions, a proud sponsor. We'll have the game for you Saturday night. We'll have the pregame 5:30 to 6:30. We'll do some things. Coach Creston, Norwayne, talk about them a little bit. Good football team coming to town.
They are. It was kind of funny because their head coach and myself coached in the North-South game 2 years ago. So we've kind of built a little bit of a relationship now that they were in our region. Then last year they were out of our region, and now they're back in it. So even last year, talking about some teams and texting back and forth, we've kind of built a relationship, and it's kind of nice to know coaches around that you can ask questions to or do whatever. But Adam does a great job with it, with this program. The kids are very disciplined. The kids are very sound in what they do. They're big up front. They're big and physical. and that's how they play. I mean, they're going to try to establish the run. I think they're looking at the previous games. They might be a high school team that runs play action more than anybody that we've ever seen. They really like running play action. So we're going to try to make sure that if we can stop the running game and try to pack the box there a little bit and try to make it hard for them to do that, then hopefully we'll get them out of their game where play action doesn't work as well, and hopefully we'll try to get them to do some things that that they haven't done all year.
From your standpoint, from an offensive standpoint, I thought that you did a lot of good things last week. I love the running game. I do in the offensive line, but Bo, again, that touchdown run he had, there's not too many quarterbacks that can do that. He's elusive, but he's powerful, gets a lot of yards after contact. How hard is it for teams to prepare for your offense, do you think, with so many weapons and a good offensive line?
Well, I would think it would be a nightmare. You mean, I look, and Stephen at Norwayne too, they have a lot of different athletes. They give the ball up to a lot of different kids. It's not, hey, we got to stop the running game or we got to stop this receiver. It's hard to. So you got to make sure that collectively you're sound and what you end up doing. And we keep preaching, at least to our kids, just do your job. You don't have to make every tackle. You got to make sure you hold your gap. And when it's your time to make a play, you have to step up and make it. So I think with that, and Norman is, but collectively for our offense, I mean, and I think some kids have stepped up, and even the kids that played last year, and like you said, you talked about Clay. I mean, everybody talks about Clay's kicking. Clay is not just a kicker. He's had a great year as a DB. He's had an exceptional year as a wideout. He's kind of turned into our go-to, but then you put him, and then you have Jake Joyce on the other side. Then you have Lucas Yema, who's another senior who's had a great year, but then you have Nick Slake on the other side. And then we have a young kid in Shondell Gardner as a wideout who stepped up and has made some big catches for us. Then you go back into our backfield with Bo, and then you got to deal with Austin Tyndall and Clayton Nesbitt, and now Bo Snyder of late has been getting some opportunities to run the ball and do some things. To me, it's hard to defend when you got to watch 7-8 people. You don't know where the ball's going, whether it's jet sweep or Bo running it, or you still have the opportunity to give it to our back. So I would think it would be tough. And again, we try to make it confusing enough where we're running motion and trading and doing some things. So you try to create some eye candy for them linebackers and guys on defense. So maybe they're looking in the wrong spot.
There's no doubt about that. I love watching it. And I asked Clayton, I said, what's it like to play on an offense like this? He said it's the greatest feeling in the world because any skilled guy we have can break one at any time. And that's what I love about this football team. You hit it. The depth continues to get better and better each week. How many football teams can say that at this point? I don't think there's many that can say they expanded their depth as you're into a regional final week.
Well, we have, and that's some goals that we try to do throughout the season. But I will say this, the credit has to go to our kids, because I know there's times where we've had a back go for 100 yards or Bo rush for 100 yards, or we had, Clay had a big day and had 4 or 5 catches, or somebody else did. But our kids don't complain about touching the ball. And the way, our wideouts don't give enough credit for the way they block. So I will say this, there's only one football, and we got, 7-8 kids that can all catch the ball or do something special with it. But our kids do a phenomenal job about, not being selfish and not worried about who's catching it, but again, about doing their job. So that's something that's pretty unique with this team right now. And those kids know, hey, when it's sometimes some play in the next couple of games, they're going to get their chance to make a play. And, they're going to have to, and knock on wood, I got faith that they're going to end up doing it. But it is pretty exciting. But our kids are very, very, unselfish.
I knocked on wood for you too, so you're good there. But that's what makes a good football team. I've coached. I know you very well. I watch mannerisms a lot. Mannerisms do not change on this football team, whether somebody's touched it 12 plays in a row or, like you said. I think that's what's special about this whole team. But this senior group, I think that's their most special trait, is they're all in this together and they don't care who does it. Is that fair to say?
I would say that when you look at our kids, even the way they celebrate with each other, or even last week we haven't had a lot of sacks. All season. Last week I think we had 4 or 5 sacks in the Mogadore game, and just to see how exciting those guys are getting up and celebrating with each other. And that's the stuff, the stuff that keeps you going and makes things exciting when these games start getting a little bit more intense, and the kids get opportunity to make plays, and they step up and do that when it's time.
Yeah, and they do a great job. You do a great job. Your staff. We're with Coach Guerriero, Coach's Corner. Regional final. That's my question. Does it get more exciting? Does it get more tense? Does it? Talk about that a little bit. What's the feeling of Coach Guerriero and the staff today? I mean, is it where you at?
Well, it's kind of funny because when you talk about it, even today after practice, we were talking a little bit, and we got between Coach Slopek and Coach Brungard when you got guys that. When you have guys that want to make sure that we do everything or we have everything accessible. So we talk about, what about this situation? What about that situation? We talk about it, but you just want to make sure you're able to put the kids in the best situation, all right, that they can for them to succeed. And right now with our kids, and I would say even the past couple years, that not only physically, we've pushed these kids mentally, that we can do a lot of different things on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. Or we can switch defenses, or we can make sure that we can check into a play, or we got a lot of things in our hands right now. And again, I think the kids put in the time and do a great job where they're not complaining, and they know that they need to, when there's practice time, they got to come to work. So I think with that, the part about that is it's more of a mental game. We got to make sure our kids are, by Saturday, you talk about the percentage. I always say, hey, what percentage do you think? You at 90, you at 100, you at 80? I talk about that with our kids all the time. Like, we want to make sure everybody's at 100% by Saturday. You've got to be able to manage the dings and stuff like that, but you want to be able to make sure that we're not running them too much, and we're not doing, because we want our bodies fresh. So there's a lot of different things that you try to prepare the kids for. Or you want to make sure if you need a play, you need to run at this time, or a defense or a stunt, you got to make sure you have that accessible. And I think our kids do a great job at adjusting to different things if we need to, whether that's at halftime or before a game or whatever it may be. Or we might pull a play that we haven't run in a couple weeks, and when we call it, hey, our kids, we kind of have rules on different schemes, and our kids follow the rules, and it's treated us very well at this point. But we just make sure we push the kids. You want to have a little bit of time to have some fun, to do some things. Yesterday in conditioning, our kids we do 220s, which is you got to like run down the goal line, then around and down the whole sidelines. Well, we get some kids that we doing 220s today when I want to do them. So we let somebody get a head start, and then okay, you got to go chase them. Our kids take off, and they love to compete. Sure. They love to compete. It's fun to be around right now. It really is, between the coaching staff and the kids. I'm having a ball, and this is why you coach, and this is what the opportunities that you get, and why you sacrifice so many things to be in this position.
Well, you summed it up. I couldn't put it any better. You guys have a great staff, great kids, great football team, and you deserve so very much. The last question, and I'm curious about, you talked last year about, you went through this long playoff run. You learned how to take care of their bodies. That has to be a huge help for this stretch run. Has that helped you learning from that whole year last year?
I would think for sure. And again, I think when the kids buy into it, it's a lot easier. I know with this, and it's times where teams start peeling back and going into, and I give Coach Slopek does a great job with our weight room because the time switch. Normally we lift or we do some stuff right after school, and then we go out and practice. Well, right now we're going out, and then we're lifting after. But if you walk into our weight room after, today's practice, you'd be like, well, what are these kids doing? They're repping out. They're repping stuff out. It's not like we got 135 on the bar, and our kids get after it in the weight room, and that's something that Coach Slopek does a great job with. And our kids know. So, we're still, it's not like we're trying to do sets of 20 or 15. Sure. We're getting after it in the weight room like it was a winter day, during the off season. And our kids have kind of bought into that. And right now, I would think we got to be if not, maybe, hopefully we're one of the strongest teams in Division 6 right now. But our kids have bought into it, whether they're coming down at study hall to go get ice, heat, stim, or they're staying before or after practice or coming early. You mean our kids are taking care of their bodies and they understand the importance of it because of we might have kids that play, 130, 140 reps in a game. So to bounce back and be ready for the next one, we got to be ready. There's no turning back. And I know my coaches always say, and I'm a guided person. We want to take one week at a time and one game at a time. But I still want to we don't want to stop until we raise that trophy, the state championship.
And I want you to say one more thing, because every week I talk to you, you say this. So continue to go on about how you dot your I's and cross your T's with this football team. That's the key to winning. You say it every week.
We try to. We try to. And that's the same thing about trying to have a play ready or trying to have a defense ready when you need it. But you try to go over every scenario or every game-winning, type situation. And even the week before, we against St. Thomas, we had an opportunity when we ran the hook and ladder from Jake Joyce to Lucas. We did not handle that 2-minute situation very well. And that's stuff that we had to go back and make sure, guys, when you catch the ball, you got to get out of bounds. Or, you know what I mean? If it's nobody's open, get rid of the ball and live another day. So there's definitely opportunities in coachable moments for our kids that we got to take advantage of. And like I said, for last week with the penalties and still being able to win and play the way we did, we got to keep that going. And like you say, we're going to keep crossing our T's and dotting our I's so we can get them W's, man.
There it is. Salute to your staff, to you, to your football team. Springfield Nation, they need you. Saturday night, 7 o'clock from the stadium. All of you that are there continue to be that loud 3,000 people in the stands that you are. We'll have the game on YSN Live, 7 o'clock. We'll have the pregame 5:30 to 6:30 from all the stadiums. Coach, love your football team. Love what you guys do. Go beat a Creston Norwayne team. Let's get ready to talk for next week's state semifinals. Wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll be talking to you next week.
All righty, Coach. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye.